Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with another Digimon deck profile video. So today I'm going to be taking a look at BT11, and BT11 offers us lots of new and powerful tools to be able to build and iterate on some new and existing decks. And today's deck I'm going to be taking a look at is a deck that's near and dear to my heart, utilizing one of my favorite Digimon, and that's going to be the Leomon deck. So Leomon doesn't necessarily have a full dedicated deck around him, and he does have a lot of creative liberties on different sub-packages that you could splash inside of him to be able to take full advantage of the Leomon engine and package that we do have to play around with. So what the Leomon package and engine is trying to do is kind of be a low-to-the-ground aggressive style of deck, where we have cards that are going to help us play our Leomons, and then we also have cards that are going to reward us for playing our Tamers as well, on top of a little bit of X-Base synergy. So it's just doing a lot of different things, but all of what it's doing is still relatively cohesive. So with all that said and done, let's just dive right into the deck profile. Starting off with the Digitama, you don't necessarily have to run 5 Digitamas if you don't want to. I'm going to be running 1 copy of Bukamon just because it does have some synergy when we Digivolve all the way up into our Imperial to try to take advantage of some Sporosis splitting shenanigans to create some extra bodies, and Bukamon helps us gain a memory when we do that to be able to make those plays a little bit more tempo efficient. But as far as the main Digitama of the deck goes, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Wanyamon just because we're already going to want to play our Tamers out, and Wanyamon rewards us for having blue Tamers on the field with some extra card draw, acting as one of the primary draw engines of the deck. Next, on to the rookies, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Gomamon. So this is the BT1 version of Gomamon, and this is in the deck just because it has an inheritable ability that is an on-delete ability to allow us to gain 1 memory, which is pretty good during our turn to have extra memory to play around with to make more powerful plays possible, or during the opponent's turn, if our Digimon lives and they're going to have to try to deal with our Digimon, then we could use it to possibly anti-tempo the opponent, and a lot of our Leomons do have on-delete abilities, so this is just a naturally good card to pair up with it, so that way we could have as much impact when our Digimon gets deleted as we possibly can. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Veemon. So this is the BT8 version of Veemon, and we do have some 2-color cards in the deck that are part blue, so this is just a good search tool to try to help us search those cards out. And then the last rookie of the deck is going to be 4 copies of Gabumon. So this is the EX1 version of Gabumon, and we don't necessarily care about the fact that it's trying to look for other Gabumons. We care mostly at the fact that it's trying to help us look for our Tamers. So when we're being aggressive with our level 4 Digimon, it's again trying to help us draw extra cards to make sure we could find the parts and pieces that we need to see. Next, on to the champions, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Leomon. So this is the BT1 version of Leomon, and it's one of the only other blue Leomons that we have access to, so we kind of do just have to run it, just because we do care about not only just his color, but the Leomon name, and it's not like this card is that bad of a card to use, because he does have a pretty decent on-delete ability to help us gain some extra memory. Again, pair that up with Gomamon, and we could gain a decent amount of memory when we're being aggressive with our Digimon and it does get deleted, or we could use that defensively to anti-tempo the opponent for them getting rid of and deleting our Digimon. Next, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Lobomon. So it doesn't necessarily have to be Lobomon. I'm just delegating this card slot space to any hybrid, just because we have a lot of Tamers that we're going to be playing around with. We want to try to be low and aggressive, so we could get the opponent into a particular state where we could use Lobomon to Digivolve on top of our Tamer to act as an alternative win condition to surprise the opponent and be able to steal games out of nowhere. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Leomon. So this is the EX2 version of Leomon, and this is doing almost the exact same thing as the BT1 version of Leomon, utilizing his on-delete ability to be able to gain us lots of decent advantage. It's just this card is gaining us more advantage without allowing us to draw a card when it gets deleted on top of gaining the 2 memory, and on top of that, if we have a Tamer in play, then this Digimon also could be a blocker, so that way we have access to some good defensive lines of play as well. And then the last champion of the deck is going to be 4 copies of Leomon X Antibody. So Leomon X Antibody, yes, like a lot of other X Antibodies, can Digivolve on top of his base form Leomon 4-0, allowing us to be able to have some additional cycling, or at worst, we could still just Digivolve him normally and try to just go up the chain with this card, allowing us to have easy access at a 2-color Digimon. Then, if we do use him with another Leomon underneath, his All Turns ability is pretty good because it's basically an on-delete ability, where when this Digimon would be deleted, then we get to play a Leomon from its Digivolution source for free, so that way we could try to always have and maintain some sort of a field presence and be able to put lots of decent pressure onto the opponent with some sticky bodies. Next, on to the ultimates, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Panjyamon. So the BT11 version of Panjyamon is pretty good because it's also going to be treated as having Leomon in its name, so that way we could use it with some of our Leomon synergy-based cards. Then on top of that, it has a nice when Digivolving ability, where we get to play a blue or a green tamer that has a play cost of 4 or less from our hand for free, so that way we could try to gain additional value off of being able to have alternative ways to be able to play our tamers. Then on top of that, his inheritable ability is really good, especially with the level 6 that we're going to be running, to be able to have the Digimon that we're playing by card effects have the rush ability, so that way we could be as aggressive with them as we possibly can. And then the last ultimate of the deck is going to be 4 copies of Panjyamon X Antibody. So Panjyamon X Antibody is another pretty decent card just because with the BT11 Panjyamon, we could Digivolve into this card for 0 on top of that card, or we could just Digivolve normally. We don't necessarily care with this card just because we could still take advantage of his ability, like Leomon X Antibody, to be able to play our other Leomons from his inheritable sources for free when he would be deleted in battle. And then as far as the level 6 of choice, I'm going to be running 3 copies of Imperialdramon Dragon Mode. So this is the starter deck version of Imperialdramon Dragon Mode, and I'm choosing to use this card just because it combos very nicely with Panjyamon from BT11, because we could split apart our low-level Digimon, and then Panjyamon will be able to allow us to have those Digimon have the rush ability, so we could be extra aggressive, and if we used it with Leomon X and a Leomon, then we could split both of those out to be able to have as many bodies as we could possibly spawn as possible, making this one of the best level 6s that this style of deck has access to. Next, on to the tamers, I'm going to be running 3 copies of Davis. So Davis is still just one of the best blue tamers that we have access to, not only being a good memory fixing tamer, but also having an on-play ability that's increasing the consistency of our deck. Next, I'm going to be running 3 copies of Jeri. So Jeri is a really good card for Leomon-based decks because her on-play effect, which again we could play for free off of our Panjyamon, allows us to be able to play a Leomon from our hand for free, so that way we could try to have easier access at spawning extra bodies, and on top of that, she's also a pretty decent draw engine. And then the last tamer of the deck is going to be 2 copies of Davis and Ken. So Davis and Ken is kind of another tech or flex spot, and it could really be any other tamer you feel like you want it to be, or you don't even necessarily have to delegate this space to a tamer, and you could just run whatever you want in its place. But I do like what Davis and Ken is doing, just because it is a 2-color tamer in our color combination, on top of the fact that if our Digimon are being aggressive on their base forms and live, then we could Digivolve them into the X forms and be able to gain access at this card to be able to unsuspend our Digimon and be able to attack the opponent again and again for some added aggression. And then lastly, onto the options, I'm running 1 copy of Ice Wall because, well, this card is so good that it got limited to 1, and that's partially the reason why we're playing it, acting as one of the primary defensive tools of the deck, de-incentivizing the opponent from wanting to attack while they're under the effect of Ice Wall. Otherwise, they're going to be losing 2 memory per attack, which could be enough of an anti-tempo move to stop the opponent from doing specific actions. Next, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Hammerspark. So Hammerspark is a pretty decent card just because we have access at a lot of card draw, and we could use Hammerspark to gain some extra momentum to be able to make more powerful plays possible out of nowhere, while also having that good security ability to gain 2 memory to again try to anti-tempo the opponent even more. And then the last card and last option of the deck is going to be 2 copies of Megadeath. So Megadeath is basically this deck's Gaia Force. It is just the hard removal card to try to deal with a problematic Digimon we wouldn't be able to deal with otherwise. But as far as the overall game plan and gameplay of the deck goes, it is a pretty self-explanatory aggro style of deck where we're mostly going to be aggressing with our level 4 and level 5 Digimon when we can. So when it comes to being able to build our stack, you kind of do have to evaluate when and how you should be aggressing with your Digimon. So when it comes to just sheerly building our stack, the best ones that we're going to want to use in our raising area is going to be Gomamon and Gabumon for their inheritable abilities to pair up with our Digimon. Gabumon's going to help us look for our tamers, which we need to find, so that way we could try to take full advantage of Panjyamon's effect, while Gomamon is really good off of our base Leomons because they both have on-delete abilities to help us gain memory, and this is just going to be gaining us more memory when they do get deleted. So from here, it doesn't necessarily matter which one you're going to want to use. So if we're just looking to sheerly aggress onto the opponent, again, it doesn't matter which of these rookies that we're going to be using. We're just going to want to start with something. Veemon's in here just for some extra searching, so that way we have some hard play cheap turns to use with some additional memory that we could gain off of a lot of our Digimon's abilities. So for the sake of the example, I'm just going to be digivolving into Gomamon down here. Then from here, you could either choose to move out of raising or keep it in raising. If you want to try to turbo out your raising, if you're running a 5th egg, by all means do so. That's totally fine, just so you could hatch another egg and try to get the aggressive plays going out of raising as best as you possibly can, just because we're not actively trying to digivolve all the way up into our level 5s and 6s all the time. So from here, we're generally going to want to try to utilize a base Leomon, so either the BT1 or the EX2-1. It doesn't necessarily matter, just because we're going to want to try to then digivolve into our Leomon X Antibody. If you're trying to go up the stack, then yes, you could just digivolve right away into Leomon X Antibody. I would recommend hiding it in raising if you're forced to do that type of a play. Otherwise, like I said, you can move it out and digivolve into either of the bases. Then from here, you could kind of choose what you want to do, engage where your stack is. So if you want to be aggressive or defensive with this style of stack, by all means do so. That's what turboing out our raising area and trying to use it as much as we possibly can will come in handy for. Then from our base, we could digivolve into our Leomon X Antibody and start aggressing with our Leomon X Antibody. So this is kind of where the Davis and Ken comes in handy, where we could swing if our Digimon lives because it hit like a tamer or an option that didn't kill our Digimon. Then we could digivolve into a Leomon X Antibody if we have Davis and Ken on our field. Then we get that free unsuspend for another swing. We do have to keep in mind that the protection or the ability to spawn an extra body is only when it's deleted by battle. So if it's deleted by a card effect, then we won't be able to spawn that extra body. But just having a Leomon X Antibody with a Leomon in its sources is pretty annoying because the opponent effectively will have to delete our Digimon twice if it is through battle. Because when he gets deleted, we get to spawn a Leomon for free out of his inheritables. But if we are gauging where we currently are in the game and what kind of effects we need, from this type of a position, we would generally want to digivolve into Panjyamon, so that way we could play any of our tamers for free. And we do have 2 really good on-play effects off of our Jeri and off of our Davis to take advantage of playing for free off of our Panjyamon. So Davis will help us look for our cards in our deck while being a memory setting tamer, and then Jeri's just going to be able to play an extra Leomon from our hand for free, which is just pretty decent. But if we don't have any of them, at worst we still have that Davis and Ken to again be able to aggress with, just because we do have Panjyamon X, so we could start swinging with Panjyamon again. If it lives, then we could digivolve for free into Panjyamon X to unsuspend off of Davis and Ken for some extra aggression. So the deck is just trying to take advantage of a lot of synergies and aggressions based on where the game state currently is, and you do have a lot of reactive plays to how the opponent can possibly play. And in this style of stack, this is kind of where Imperialdramon becomes really good, because then we could split apart our level 4 inheritables, so that way we could spawn some extra bodies and synergize it with Panjyamon. Then they will have the rush ability, so we could start swinging right away with them. And with, again, our base Leomons having some pretty decent on-delete abilities, that could just swing the tempo and momentum into our favor. And the only reason why I'm only running Imperialdramon in this style of deck as the main level 6 is because Panjyamon is part green, so it really limits me from wanting to play blue level 6 Digimon, just because if I have Panjyamon and I don't have Panjyamon X Antibody, then I won't be able to Digivolve them at all, which is why this is one of the better ones, just because it can Digivolve off of either blue or green. And then as far as just some other powerful plays, this is kind of why the hybrid is pretty decent, just because if we can utilize the memory management and memory gain off of our base Leomons, then we could just Digivolve on top of a tamer that we don't need and start being aggressive with our hybrids, or use the hybrid as the alternative win condition. And then as far as the options, they're literally in here just for raw utility, just to be able to try to help enhance our gameplay, or mostly disrupt the opponent's game plan and their gameplay. And then there's still just a whole bunch of different tech and tools that you could think about incorporating into the deck to really customize it and make it your own. So if you wanted to, you could shift the deck to try to incorporate the bond package, just because the bond package isn't really interfering with the deck slots that we need in order to run the Leomon package. Then on top of that, we do just have a couple of other really decent generic cards that we could think about running in terms of blue level 3s. So we do have access at all of the blue floodgates if you really wanted to. We have access at jamming Veemon for some extra aggression. And we even have access at Jellymon like Gabumon to try to help synergize with the fact that we're going to be playing lots of tamers in the deck and want to take advantage of all the possible card draw that we could have in the deck as well. Then as far as some other tamers that we could even run something like Mimi to be able to turbo out our raising area to be extra aggressive that way, because all of our level 5 and higher Digimon or green or part green to try to take advantage of this, and Panjyamon also can play Mimi for free. Then if you wanted to, you could also think about running Mimi and Joe. This is pretty okay. It's not the best card in the world, but it's not bad either, allowing us to have access at extra memory and access at another 2-color tamer, already playing around with the color combinations that we're wanting to play with already. Then the best alternative level 6 for the deck, just because it could Digivolve off of blue and green, is going to be Dino Tigermon, just because Dino Tigermon also has some good Leomon synergy, because it's asking for it to have a Leomon in its inheritable sources to be able to take advantage of its ability. Then as far as some other Leomon support cards, we do have his option in the form of Fist of the Beast King to have some extra ways to be able to unsuspend our Digimon. And then as far as some other really good generic cards that we could possibly play, we do have the plugins that could make us a little bit safer to attack with, or make our attacks even more aggressive while trying to help dig out of the security for specific types of cards. Then we do have access to DNA if you wanted to run some DNA, just because if we're playing Imperial already, then that source splitting shenanigans can help us spawn extra bodies, and then we could use those extra bodies to DNA into a DNA Digimon right away with. Then we do have some other pretty decent level 7s that we could run. So we could run Omnimon if we're running a blue or part blue level 6, or we could use Omnimon Merciful Mode as just another generic one, because it could Digivolve off of both colors, so we don't necessarily need to care about the color requirements. Then we also do have the Imperialdramon as well for some extra level 7 usage. And because we're also playing around with some X antibodies, we could think about running Cool Boy as well for some extra tempo and consistency. So that's all I really have for this video. As always, feel free to tell me your thoughts down in the comments below, and down in the description below are a couple of different ways you could support me and the channel. So I do have a TCG Player affiliate link, so when you use that link to buy cards off of TCG Player, then some of that money will go to supporting me and the channel. I also do make and sell playmats over on Overcard Gamers on Facebook, so when you buy a playmat with my design, then some of that money will also go to help supporting me and the channel. And on top of all of that, I do have a Twitch account over on twitch.tv/Zenitsu, so giving me a follow and a subscription also helps support me there, and I do play Digimon on top of various other games on that platform as well. So thank you everyone for watching, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next video.